Hey y'all, so before I get this video started, let me give a quick shout out. These were the first 3 comments in my last video. If you want to be featured in my next video, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell and come show me some love when I drop a new video. What's up, you guys? It's KeAmber Vaughn, aka CoachKe, coming back to you with another video. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and if you're not new, welcome back. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and also tap the bell so that you are notified of every new video that I post. So as you guys can tell by the title of this video, I'm finally putting out the May, it's May, right? Yes, the May mock budget. So the mock budget is coming out a little bit later this month because number one, I had printing issues, and also I wanted to feature someone who gets paid on the 15th and 30th for a very special reason. A lot of people get paid on the 15th of the month and either the last day of the month or like the first day of the month. And I've always been the type of person where when somebody gets paid on the 15th and the last day or first day of the month, typically it's the last day of the month, I always think you should actually start your paydays on the 15th, and here's why. Most people's largest expense or biggest expense is usually rent, and rent is usually due on the 1st. So what a lot of people end up doing is saying, hey, I'm paid on the 30th, so that starts my new month to be able to pay my rent and everything else. I say you should start in the middle of the month, because if this is your biggest bill, why not start your budget in the middle of the month? Because typically this is going to be your payday where you don't have as many expenses coming in, meaning you can have a little bit more money left over from this payday to carry you into your heavier load as far as your paychecks go. If you start off your budget with your heaviest paycheck, everything can feel like it's a lot more skimpy as far as money goes, or skim as far as money goes, taking you into the rest of the month. So I say start the budget on the 15th, and I did tell this person that I would be starting their budget on the 15th, and they can try it out. If they don't like it, they can change it up. So as you guys can see, I have already written in all of the bills. They get paid $16.95 on the 15th and the 30th. They have a loan that they pay $170.74 for every paycheck basically. They have a car note of $485. And y'all know how I feel about car notes being that high. That's a very high car note. Not sure if it's a like brand new car, if it's a more luxury car, if it's not that great of a car, but the person has bad credit. I don't know. But that's a very high car note. It's something that needs to be looked at. Car insurance for $134.93 comes out on the same day. We have Netflix. This, it said Q something. I don't know what was behind the Q, but that was $121.25. It might be like internet or something. I'm not sure. Apple data, I believe, said 99 cents. Rent for $10.85, which the rent seems high, but typically experts tell you shouldn't spend more than about 30% of your gross income on rent. And based off of what this person's net income is, this should be less than 30% of their gross income. OnStar for $36.31 per month, Sirius XM for $6.06 per month, and then a Capital One, pretty sure this is probably a credit card, for $103 per month. This, if that's your credit card minimum, you probably have a pretty high balance, and one of these I think they said would be paid off like within 4 to 6 payments, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I got my piece of paper over here handy just in case I need it, and we are going to go ahead and get into the budget. Okay, so at this point I've already written out all of the fixed expenses. Everything is listed here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add up what the total fixed expense amount, and we're going to put that on the bottom here. These papers that I have is kind of like the printable version of the physical planner that you guys see me use all the time. It's a little bit different than this planner. If I can find it, it's over here. It's a little bit different, but yeah, that's basically that version. All right, so let's go ahead and get to it. So we have $10.85. So for those of you all who are new to my channel, when I do the mock budgets, I do them based off of my income allocation method, because people ask me to do mock budgets based on how I budget on my personal money. So this is a method I came up with myself while I was still in debt to help me get out of debt while saving money at the same time. And I thought that was very important because I felt like having only $500 or $1,000 in savings while I was getting out of debt was just a no-go. It wasn't enough of an emergency fund for me personally. And I always felt like putting more money towards debt than I'm putting into savings just psychologically didn't work well for me. But when I needed to make a $300 payment on an extra payment on my debt, and I was saving $300 at the same time, it helped. And then when I got out of over $27,000 in debt, I had about $17,000 saved at the same time. So it worked out for me. So the total fixed expenses is $2330.01. So the next thing that we do after we figure out our fixed expenses is we put in our projected income. So the projected income is the $1695 times 2. That leaves me with $3390. So I can tell you off the bat, somehow, some way, you're going to have to get some of these expenses down. Now, of course, you have a couple of loans in here. I think that one wasn't a loan, I don't think. You got loans. So these three, I believe, are the only debts that you have. Somewhere up in here, we got to fix one of these, because for you to have only about $1,000 left over after paying for your fixed expenses, that's kind of dangerous, especially because of your expenses that you already told me you have. So before I finish off what's up here, I'm going to go down here and do our variable expenses real quick. So they said they spend $600 a month on groceries. Gas is $140 a week, which 1, 2, 3, 4. If we start off here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 4.5 weeks, so we'll just say 4 weeks. So we'll just do $160 for gas. And then they said they spend about $200 a month on fast food. And they said they were a little bit embarrassed about that. That's a lot of money if it's just for yourself. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Now, as far as the groceries go, I'm not sure if this is literally groceries, or because there's a lot of people here on YouTube who don't break their variable expenses down in the manner that I do, where I literally list out, you know, groceries are here, hair care products and other personal household items are there. Like, I separate myself. A lot of people on YouTube don't. They kind of put everything that's not going out to eat or gas. They pretty much put everything else in the grocery category. I'm hoping that's what that is. If not, this definitely needs to come down. Even if you ate all vegan food, you still shouldn't be spending that much money per month on groceries. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that up. And we're just going to go based off the numbers you gave me. And then, like I always do, I'll give you some tips and all of that at the end. So $960. This is why you are feeling like you don't have enough money. $2330.01. So right here I have the projected income, which is the 2 paydays there. If I subtract the fixed expenses, which are bills that we have to pay, what's left over is $1,159.99. That's not giving you enough wiggle room from your variable expenses. You literally only have about $200 left over. So if you feel like your budget is tight, it is. Having $200 left over doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room, especially because if you overspend in any of these categories, you're pretty much screwed. So we're still going to just go based off of the numbers you gave. And like I said, I'll give you some tips and stuff that you could possibly do towards the end. So the percentage of our net income, what's left over after you pay for your fixed expenses, the percentage of that income that needs to go to your everyday expenses is 82.7%. You guys know, while you're still in debt, I always tell you to round up to the nearest 10% to give you a little wiggle room, especially because once you start really honing in on your budget, you're bound to overspend as you continue to restrict your numbers to kind of force yourself to spend less. So this gives you the ability to overspend a little bit as you continue to, you know, get better with your budget. So the amount that you're giving yourself to spend then is actually $1,043.99. So that's giving you about $83, $84 extra dollars to overspend just in case. The problem is when you talk about wanting to save money and when you talk about wanting to accelerate your debt payoff, you only have 10% left over, which is, and if you guys want a detailed breakdown of how I do this budget, across your screen should have already popped up going to my free financial empowerment community. Step 9 of my financial wellness program is free, and it gives you a detailed breakdown of this. You only have $116 left over. I typically tell people to split that in half because you want to save the same amount of money you're putting towards your extra debt payments. So if I multiply that by half, that means you only have $58 to save and $58 to put as extra debt payments. You're going to be in debt for a long time at this rate. Okay? So before I even get into what you need to do on payday as far as these things go, because honestly, it's not that I don't want to continue on with the video, but there's not much wiggle room. I think it's important to start giving you some tips right now, right here, right now, because this budget is going to keep you struggling for a very long time. So the first things first, this car note, I don't know what kind of car this is, but we got to figure out how to get this down, because the reality is spending $500 a month for a car is absolutely ridiculous. I really don't care what kind of car it is, but unless you can literally pay for this car cash today, you should not have this car. That's just how it is. Until you can pay for something 2 times over, you should never buy it. Now, again, I don't know if this is because of bad credit. Maybe your credit is better now than it was when you first bought this car. If so, you need to look into refinancing this car. Or Dave Ramsey would also tell you, there's some stuff I do agree with him, to trade this car in for something else. Now, I don't believe you need to get rinky-dink cars that could possibly completely fluke out on you in a year or even 6 months, because the more money you continue to put into these little fluky cars because you're trying to drive something that costs less to make sure that you don't have these huge car notes, by the time you put all this money into the car, you've paid for a car. You know what I mean? But either refinancing to bring this loan amount down. I don't care if you only have 3 years left on this car and you refinance this, pushes it out to another 3 years on top of that. So now you owe 6 years of payments versus 3. You refinancing will do a lot better, because if you can bring this down to at least like $300, that would be cool, because you'll end up using that money to help you get out of all these other debts, and by the time it's time for you to focus on this car, you still can actually end up paying that 6-year car loan off in 4 years or 3 years if you really hone in on it. But you gotta refinance this. That's way too high. Car insurance, I'm okay with that. That's about what I spend on my car insurance as well. Not sure what this loan is here, and I forgot which is the one you said is going to be paid off soon, because that will definitely free up some money, but you're still going to have to free up money on top of that anyway. Let's see, one of these. So this one is one that will be paid off. I think it says 4 payments left. That helps, but that's still not going to be enough. I'm okay with Netflix. I would rather you have a jailbroken Fire Stick, or Fire Sticks even now come with Tubi TV, which is free. You can watch a lot of movies and TVs. They have very limited ads, and that's better than you paying $16 a month. So you might need to get rid of Netflix. A lot of sacrifices that you guys make now are literally temporary, but sometimes by the time you're out of debt and reach financial freedom, you've been without some of these things for so long that really you don't miss it. I would never get Netflix or Hulu or any of that stuff back. I can watch this stuff for free online. Apple data, I'm okay with that. So I'm okay with those. This loan right here, not sure, but you might want to look into refinancing if your interest rate is super high on those as well. Rent, I guess, is okay. I don't really know where you live, so that might be typical of where you live. OnStar, I don't really know all the features of OnStar, but if you feel like that's something that's important to you, you can keep that. There's no problem with that. SiriusXM, it's only $6, and that's something that we say, but it's only $6. But guess what? The $6, the $36, all of those things end up adding up. The 36 plus this 16 is 52. So these three alone are $60 extra that you could have, you know, to put towards any of your loans. The capital one, that's something that you probably can't even help. But if you have decent credit, what you might end up wanting to do with a minimum payment this large, your credit card debt is probably pretty high. If you have decent credit, you might want to look into splitting this off into different 0% interest cards. Even if it's 3, because your balance is so high. By doing this payment is going to come down. You should end up having a minimum payment that's a lot lower than that, even when you add all 3 of these together, because you won't be continuing to accrue debt on top of debt with the interest. So you might want to look into that. Or you also could possibly look into transitioning this, transfer it to a personal loan. That is something that, what's her name? Erica Life Vlogs, or Erica V Life Vlogs, something like Erica Life Vlogs, I think is her name. She took a PayPal credit card, I believe it was, or PayPal loan, one of the two. And because the interest rate was ridiculous, her amount was still going up and up as far as the debt that she owed. She ended up transitioning it into a personal loan. And I'm almost certain that she's pretty close to paying that off, if I'm not mistaken, and it hasn't been that long. So that's something you might want to look into doing, because your personal loan interest rate might be, let's say 8% versus your 29.99% you have down here. So we have to work on this, because if you don't work on this, nothing else literally matters. Now I'm still going to show you what you need to do on Payday, but it's not going to be that great, because literally you don't have any money to work with. You also need to bring your expenses down. If those are your expenses for one person, almost $1,000 a month, that's too much. I'm okay with this actually, but I'm not okay with this if you're still spending that much on groceries. It doesn't make sense. All right, so let's go to what you should do on Payday. All right, so your threshold, which is your fixed expense amount, which is how much money you need to earn before you start putting money towards savings and saving extra money to put towards extra debt payments, is $2,300. Your checking percentage is 90, 5, and 5. Again, the numbers aren't that swell, but you got to work with what you got. So paycheck 1 on the 15th is $1,695. When you get paid on this payday, you don't have enough money. You haven't earned enough money to pay all of your fixed expenses. So you're literally going to keep everything in your checking on this payday. You're still going to pay your bills as they come in. Pay them like normal. Spend your normal amount on gas. Spend your normal amount on groceries. Well, no, we need you to come down on your groceries a little bit, but still spend money as you usually do. Still pay your bills as you normally do. When paycheck 2 happens on the 30th, this is when you've now earned enough money This is when you've earned enough money to cover your fixed expenses. This is what you have between your paycheck minus your fixed expenses. This is what you got left over. So 90% of this is going to stay in your checking. Why? Because you need this money to cover your variable expenses, the groceries, the eating out, and also the gas. So that means you're going to keep $953.99 in your checking. You got $106 left over for these, and like I said, I just say to divide it in half. So on your second paycheck of the month, you're going to put $53 in savings and put $53 extra towards debt. Now, if you do not have at least $1,000 to $3,000 in savings, if you do not have at least this, you're going to send all 106 to savings. You have to. Because if anything happens to your job, you are going to be messed up, and you want to make sure that you have something to help you with something. Okay? So out of this $1,695, because we kept 106 over here, $1,589 is going to end up staying in your checking. So essentially, we got to figure out either how you need to make more money or you have to reduce your expenses. One of the things that really bothers me in this budgeting space is when people say, Dave Ramsey didn't work for me, Susie Orman didn't work for me, your budget method didn't work for me, this person's method didn't work. And really, in reality, is none of these people's budgeting methods work because your numbers don't work. Math is math is math is math. It doesn't matter how you cut up your paycheck is still your paycheck. You get what I'm saying? So the reason you're having trouble is because your income is not high enough and or your expenses are too high. You have to fix one or both. Plain and simple. So this is the very reason as well why I stressed to you guys in the beginning of the month why this person's budget has to start on the 15th every month. Because imagine if you start your paycheck here, you start your budget here on the 30th of every month, right? Out of this $1,695, $1,085 is gone in rent already. So now we only have $600 left. By the time you pay for these three things right here, that's $150. Now we only have $450 left out of $960. Where's that page? $960 that we spend monthly on variable expenses. Half of that is over $450. So now we're over budget until we get to our next payday. This is why you probably feel even more strapped for cash than you actually are, even though you are strapped for cash. But this is why you feel more strapped, because you're trying to start your budget when your rent is due out of that particular paycheck. Stop doing that. Start it here. I don't know if you want me to do the budget pre-plan. I normally do that, so I'll just go ahead and do that real quick, because this, when you guys do these different ways of cutting your budget up by looking at it this way in percentages and seeing, hey, this is how much I have coming in, this is how much has to go out in bills, this is how much I have left over, but oh my God, look at how much I need for variable expenses. I have no money between those. So when you look at it like that, then you look at how much you have left over for the other things, which is not very much. We're not even in triple digits yet, right? Then we look at this. Now we're cutting it up to paycheck to paycheck. When you cut your budget up in all these different ways, it's for a reason. It's so that you can put your reality in front of you. And when you feel more strapped for cash on one paycheck than you do another, you can see why. Oh, this is why. So let's go ahead and do this one. So paycheck one is going to be $515. Paycheck two is going to be $530. I put $1,690. I meant to put $1,695. All right. So all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to end up writing all the bills out that are coming out of these particular paychecks, and that will kind of put into perspective which paycheck may be more heavier. So we're also going to need about $480 per week or per paycheck for our variable expenses. All right, so we're going to do the budget, which is the variable expenses of $490. I'm going to put those in first because if I don't, I typically forget them. All right, we have a loan coming out. Car note. Insurance. Netflix. This Q loan, this is the one that only has, I think it said 4 payments left. It's kind of hard for me to read the writing. We have Apple, $4.99. We have the loan again. Rent is now due. OnStar, Sirius XM, and then we have Capital One. So all I'm going to do at this point is go ahead and subtract all of these amounts out of the paycheck so you can see about where you start to kind of get messed up as far as your money goes. $490. So this is also a reason why I don't like when I see people treat their paychecks as if they're completely separate, because what I see a lot of people do here on YouTube is they get here, they do a paycheck to paycheck budget, they get here and say, oh, I have $276.10 left over, and they go ahead and send this off to debt. Look and see how dangerous this is to do that. So you've sent that off to debt, right? You've zeroed yourself out for that paycheck. Oh, what am I doing? 103426. Now here comes rent. So we sent this off to debt and did not make sure that we had enough to cover where we are possibly going to be negative on the next paycheck. This is why I like people to do paycheck to paycheck budgets, but do not zero out your paycheck at the end of your paycheck before you go into the next one. That's the most dangerous thing you can ever do. So this is exactly why I said to start your budgets on the 15th, because you're always going to have a surplus in paycheck 1 and you're always going to be negative in paycheck 2. The other thing is, when this loan is gone in about 4 months, I think you say you have 4 more payments. When this loan is gone, you're going to free up another $121.25. It's not a lot, but when you add that to the 106, I think it was, that you had, now you have an extra $227.25 left over every single month if you continue to spend that much on your variable expenses, if your fixed expenses continue to be that much minus your new loan. So this is what you're going to have left over. So now you're going to have about $175 to save and about $175 to put towards debt. So these numbers aren't so bad, but where you are now is going to be difficult. Once you get rid of this loan and you free up this minimum payment, and maybe you can get your car loan down a little bit, you can get that Capital One card down a little bit by either turning it into a personal loan or getting it out of that particular credit card if you have good enough credit, and getting it into some 0% interest cards. When you free up a couple of more $100, you're going to be okay. But where you are right now is going to hurt. It's going to hurt. So that's that, you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that you enjoyed the tough love that I gave you on your budget. Sometimes we have to give tough love and we have to give constructive criticism in order to help people get on the road that they want to be on and the road that we also want to see them on. I'm glad that you sent in the information, and there actually, you guys, will be another mock budget later on this month as well, so stay on the lookout for that. If you guys have any questions or commentary whatsoever, feel free to leave it down below. Please thumbs up this video, subscribe if you haven't already, but other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.